So psyched to be here with all of you who are joining us virtually, and with Jess and Travis, who are also joining virtually, but a little more up close. So this is, as I think you all know, this is the Environmental Philanthropy and the Future of Business session. This is a Q&A following a master class that some of you have seen. If you haven't seen it, the real sort of takeaway message that we'll be focusing on today is the critical importance of giving to environmental nonprofits as part of a business strategy. So I have two of the wonderful experts in our network here with us. I have Jess Hann, who's the Senior Vice President of VP of Brand Marketing at Avocado Green Mattress. And then I have Travis Bays from Bodhi. And they are both members with 1% for the Planet, who have just done some amazing giving and other sustainability measures over the years. So they're just really terrific representatives of their brands, of the 1% for the Planet brand, and of the overall concept of environmental giving. So I'm really pleased to get to share this conversation with them. And it is very much a conversation, not just amongst the three of us here, but with all of you. So before I turn it over to intros with Jess and Travis, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll be using the chat as a place to collect questions. So you can start now, and just at any time you have a question, just drop it in there and we'll respond. We also do have the moderation panel. So if you're feeling the urge to get on screen and speak with us, we can bring you in for a question that way. Whatever suits you is fine with us. We're going to just do a little bit of intro and then really open it up. So please do think about your questions, and they can, be broadly pertaining to environmental philanthropy, or just, any of the thoughts that you're having in this intersection of business and the environment. And I know this is towards the end of 2 days of amazing programming with Sea Change, so you may have a lot of interconnected questions. So feel free to bring any and all questions, and we'll do our best to answer or point them in the right direction. So with that, I do want to create some time for both Jess and Travis to introduce themselves and their work. So I'm going to turn it over to you first, Jess, to get us started.
Great, awesome. So excited to be here. As Kate mentioned, I lead the brand team at Avocado Green Brands. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we make sustainable, ethical, transparent home goods. So my team is really responsible for bringing that mission and that vision to life, whether it's through our giving program or our strategic partners, media partners, social media influencers, all that fun stuff. And so we've really been members of 1% for the Planet for several years now. And, I can honestly say it's one of my favorite parts of my job, because I feel like it adds so much meaning to it. And, not only do our customers get excited about it, but our employees get excited about it too. So, it's interesting. I think being members of 1% for the Planet and having this philanthropic giving used to be a real brand differentiator for us. It used to be something really unique for us to talk about. And now I almost feel like it's a requirement. I feel like our customers are demanding transparency. They want to know what we're doing, and they want to see the results as well. And so each year we put out an impact report, and it is just filled with our giving initiatives, basically, and the results and the stories that are generated from that. So for us, it's really a core part of our business plan for our employees and their engagement and retention, for our customers, and really just for being a mission-based brand, and being able to say that and really feel like we mean it. So anyway, thanks. Excited to be here and hope to chat with some of you guys too.
Great. Thanks so much, Jess. And Travis, how about you? I'd love to hear about you and where you are and what you're focused on.
Thanks, Kate and Jessica. Yeah, if you hear some background noise, it's the famous cicada coming to eat you alive. I'm actually on my patio in a community called Bahia Ballena, Osa, Costa Rica, the southwest part, about 3.5 hours from the capital. And I'm the founder of Bodhi Surf and Yoga. We are the only B Corp certified surf and yoga company in the world right now. And we want that to change. We want many other companies to become B Corp certified in the surf industry and the yoga industry. What we really do is leverage 4 key things: surfing, yoga, nature immersion, and community engagement as our tools to facilitate an experience that really allows people to start thinking about their relationship with themselves, their relationship with Mother Ocean and with Mother Nature. And a key part of our business DNA has always been to give back, whether that's locally to our local nonprofits here or globally through the network that we've achieved with 1% for the Planet. We're actually celebrating, I just looked back in my emails a few minutes ago, it was August 9th, if I recall correctly, when we became, August 9th, 2018, when we first did our membership with 1% for the Planet. So hooray for 3 solid years so far. And similar to what Jessica said, it definitely has been a differentiator for ourselves. And it most definitely has become something more of the norm that customers are seeking. And we've definitely seen returns on the branding and not only that, but also, of course, the impact socially and environmentally through the nonprofits that we're giving to through 1% for the Planet. And I look at 1% for the Planet similar as I look like at B Lab, which certifies the B corporations, right? I look at 1% as a vetting organization, as an auditor, to make sure that the nonprofits that we're giving to are indeed mission driven and doing the good work that they're here to do. So cheers. I'm so happy to be here.
Excellent. Congrats on 3 years. And Jess, I think it's 5, 6 years for you. I might have that wrong, but we're so grateful.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. Great to hear that. And we're starting to get some questions just to kind of prime the pump and to like anticipate what I know will be something of interest. And you both alluded to this a little bit, but Jess, it'd be great to hear just sort of the business case for giving in the ways that Avocado Green Brands has experienced it.
Absolutely. And it's such an important question because, at the end of the day, I think we can all buy into this idea of giving and want to do it. But, we are businesses at the end of the day. And so, I really like to think of it as part of our marketing budget. I think the 1% for the Planet logo is increasingly becoming familiar. It's widespread. You'll see it everywhere. And it's really a trust signal to your customers to say that we're actually doing what we say we're doing and being associated with that network, which I think is great. To get really practical, we've also seen some very specific financial success from our partnerships as well. So to give you some examples, so we run a lot of ads, a lot of video ads, and a lot of them are just about our products or even, our sustainable manufacturing processes. But our most successful video ad for conversions is our 1% for the Planet ad. And so that's talking about our membership there, and that's what's resonating with our customers. That's what's making them want to buy from us. We also, every year, we've declared National Avocado Day our own holiday. And as part of that, we have teamed up with the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, which is a mouthful. And we plant avocado trees with them on this day. And again, this is one of our top sales driving days of the year. People want to buy when they feel like their money is going towards something good and it's aligned with their values. Creating content as a marketer is expensive, and, creating meaningful content can even seem more, impossible. And so really, I think one way to look at it is just that you're finding these other ways to storytell your values and to make an impact. And I would argue that you really can't afford not to be doing this kind of giving.
Great, thanks. And I think connecting it to a question from Gary in our audience, hi Gary, who has been a member for about 3 months. So I think our 3-year member would be a good person to kind of answer this and build on something you were saying, Travis, which is, just how it is a connecting point with your customers. So Gary's question is, what's the best way to engage your customers or clients to follow your lead in social and environmental impact when it's new to your organization? So when you're kind of integrating 1% for the Planet or giving more broadly?
So, every business is different and operates differently and has different relationship opportunities to develop with their customer. So in our case, for example, we look at the customer buying journey and the visitor/guest experience in 3 phases, so to speak. We have the pre-trip experience, we have the on-site experience, and then we have the post-visit experience. And throughout those 3 phases, we're attempting to educate our guest, our consumer, so that they are aware of what we're doing with respect for 1% for the planet. And our hope is to slowly but surely, by giving them more information and then showing them on site what we're doing, and then hitting them again post-visit, building a pathway, so to speak, so that they will become individual members. It's one thing for them to identify with the brand and say, yes, I want to buy from that company because they're 1% for the planet member, and something entirely different from my perspective that they say, hey, you know what, I want to be a member now. So I think leading with action too. For example, there's a lot of Travelers Philanthropy in the tourism industry. And oftentimes it's like, okay, Kate and Jessica and all of you that are watching, come down. And then most businesses will say, hey, do you want to donate to this cause? We actually make a donation on behalf of our guests, a $20 donation for every full paying guest to our local community foundation, in hopes that that will inspire them to take action. We find that it could be rude sometimes to ask people to give if you're not giving yourself. So I think by leading by example is always the most important thing to do, and then to do your best to provide opportunities to educate your customer and develop a relationship versus just a transaction.
That's great. And clearly the cicadas liked that commentary as well. I could hear them in the background. So it looks like we have Jill, who is in our panel. So Megan, or maybe I can try and learn how to do this. Let's see, Jill, I'm going to try and bring you in to ask us a question. I think you're coming on. There you are, Jill. Hello, Jill. And if you want to unmute yourself, I think that you are on screen and you can ask a question. We'll come back to Jill. I'm just going to remove you for now, Jill. Are there other questions? Please do drop those in the chat. While we're sort of waiting on that, and Jill, feel free to, if you had a question, you can just drop it right into the chat. Okay, here we have a question from Leanne, which is great. And I'm just going to read it. Philanthropy is by nature an elite activity. How can fundraising professionals engage lower income individuals in philanthropy and giving, even if they can't afford to make big ticket donations? I can speak some to that, but Jess or Travis want to give you a shot at it first, if that's something you're interested in. That sort of, we in 1%, at 1% for the planet, we refer to that as everyday givers, as opposed to the sort of larger donors. So I think that's an important question, Leanne. Do either of you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it can be, you know, an elite activity, or those with economic resources are the ones that can make donations. In our community, for example, we're a very small town, coastal village of about 3,000 people. And the way that people contribute is through in-kind. We all have our superhuman powers, so to speak. And so giving doesn't just have to be an economic choice in terms of economic resources. It could be your time and talent too. That's a little bit to answer that question. It's a tough question to answer, because I do feel that, yes, if you look at our guests, the ones that are donating oftentimes are the ones that do have more economic resources to give.
And one thing I can chime in, or I guess two things I can chime in on. In our business membership program, we have small businesses, we have large businesses, we have everything in between, and we really celebrate the fact that it's a really democratic model. So every member is giving their 1%, so they're equally contributing proportionally to their size. And so when we celebrate our total giving at the end of the year, all of our members, again, regardless of size, are contributors to that large amount of giving. And so it really is a wonderful way to aggregate donors of all sizes to drive large impact. And we've found that to be a really effective way at the business level to drive change. And then our individual member program similarly is really set up to be accessible to all. So for individual members, they can give their total giving in the form of volunteer time. So we've had, you know, college students giving volunteer time. We've had teenagers giving 1% of their babysitting money. We've had high net worth individuals, but really our individual member program by and large is, you know, tends to be those everyday givers. And again, being able to do that as part of a community and aggregate that giving with a larger set of other givers is a really powerful way to do that. And I think it's really important that we think about that. And then lastly, I would say, back to what Jess was saying, I think when consumers are sort of making their, and Travis, you were saying this too, when consumers are sort of thinking about where they're going to spend their dollars to buy things, it's really a kind of neat opportunity for them to think, well, I need a mattress, or I have to do this purchasing. If that purchase as part of it can be contributing to a give back, that engages me in philanthropy in a way that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to be involved. So while the company is doing the actual physical giving, the revenue is generated by all the consumers. And so they're participating in that as well. So I think there are a lot of powerful ways that a model like ours drives that. And I think really thinking about the importance of those everyday givers is really critical. So again, thank you for that question. Going on to a next really great question from Howard. Quite a few research studies on Gen Z have identified climate change as young people's top issue. And what are suggestions from anyone in the group here for the best ways to engage and activate this younger climate-focused group?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. I think social media is a really great way to engage Gen Z kind of on their own terms and where they are. I think also, providing volunteer opportunities or partnering with organizations that are geared towards younger audiences. There are a lot of great ones out there that are working on inclusivity and diversity and, really would resonate with younger audiences too. I think fostering the younger generations, whether they're able to contribute or give or not, maybe they start with volunteering and then they kind of work their way up. But I agree. I mean, I think it's really a hot topic for younger audiences. And I think as long as you're speaking to them in their terms, where they are, then they're going to be interested.
And I would just add, I'm sure many of us read about the IPCC report that came out just over a week ago. And, yes, Gen Z really places a high value on this. We all need to be placing really high value on this. So I think thinking about the ways we reach every generation is pretty critical right now. And I know we can't be, every company can't be all things to all people, but we really are at that moment where it's about reaching the audiences that care most. It's about reaching the next set of people who, care second most, because we really do need to enlist everyone. And again, models like B Corp, like 1% for the planet, other certification or, just sort of group community models create a way for people to come together to create change. And oftentimes that community pressure, positive pressure in many cases, and just positive invitation in other cases is a really important way to drive change. So that's also something to think about, is just how we come together to create those opportunities for people to engage in what's important. Let's see, next question. As a nonprofit trying to get donations from businesses, what are some suggestions, Travis and Jess, for trying to convince businesses to get on board, either, as donors generally, or as, and let's think about it from that standpoint. I don't want to over-index on 1% for the planet, but certainly, you may think about it from that lens. But what is it that makes you want to give to a certain nonprofit?
I would suggest, because I am a business owner, but I'm also the founder of 3 different nonprofits in Costa Rica. And so I've been playing on both sides of the field. And as a nonprofit trying to get donations from businesses, we really need to identify our value add to that business before we go and make our pitch. So for example, years ago when we started Bodhi Surf and Yoga, we had women's groups knocking on our door, the soccer coach knocking on our door, 10, 15 different organizations. And what we needed to do, all initiatives were great, but we really needed to figure out what was aligning with our mission as a business. And so, for example, moving forward, we're looking at donating back to our local community foundation, which we already do, but specifically for coral reef restoration in our marine national park. So I think one thing is to look at, what is your value add and what's the match with that business? Is there a match between what you can offer and their mission? The other thing, and I'm going to steal 1% here for a second. Our community foundation, Somos, actually started 2 years ago, well, right before the pandemic, using the 1% concept and going to the hotels and restaurants and saying, hey, can you donate 1%? Whether it was 1% of margarita sales on Wednesdays or 1% of hotel nights. And that concept started to catch on a little bit. And then, of course, the pandemic happened and tourism got smashed. But it's something that we're looking to reestablish. So I think utilizing knowledge that's already out there from organizations like 1% and incorporating it into your nonprofit sales strategy or donation strategy is really helpful.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, actually. I think one really great thing to do is to make a business case. And so, I've had great partners who've come to us, and obviously first they make sure we're aligned and they make sure they talk about the value, but they're also saying, if you spend X, you're going to get Y. We are able to give you this. And they might even do it in different tiers of, how much money you spend and what we're able to partner with you on. And so I think that's really interesting too, especially if you're dealing with someone who is very focused on the numbers, then, make it something that they can't refuse. They have to see the value in.
Great responses. And I would just add from, we play a role in working with a lot of our member companies and our nonprofits. And, one of the things we see time again is that it comes down to relationships and sort of really being able to, make those connections that are meaningful, aligned with what the company is looking for, aligned with what you're trying to accomplish as a nonprofit. So, really building those relationships. And sometimes in this big, vast world of ours, it can be hard to get to the point where you can build that relationship. So clear communications around sort of what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish is really useful to, get that started. So, so I think just having that relationship framework is often a really useful one to have in mind. And building on that, I'm going to go to another question. What did because this is a really important one, I'm so glad someone asked this. What did your organizations do to engage employees and or contractors to make sure that they're behind the brand purpose? Particularly, I maybe start with you, Jess. You made the decision to join 1% for the Planet 5-6 years ago. And then, you're still a member. I'm sure you've had a lot of new staff join. How do you get people engaged and on board and sort of representing the commitments that you've made?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's easy. I think people get very excited about this sort of thing. And I think part of it is because when we're going out there as a brand, our brand messaging is focused on that we're a mission-based brand, that we give back. And so I think we're kind of naturally attracting people that really are aligned with our values. And so I think for us, it's been a little too easy probably to get people on board. But I think involving them in the process along the way is really helpful too. We've had instances where we let our employees vote on which organization we were going to partner with. We had our top 3 and employees love that. And then they want to hear what the updates are and they feel so connected. And so I think really, if they're not on board from the get-go, I think involving them as much as possible and showing them what impact they're helping to make too, and build those relationships, as Kate says, it's only a matter of time before they're bought in.
So we are at our time, or just about. So just to wrap up, that went by very fast. Great questions. Thank you so much, and great responses. And I think the sort of thread through all of it is that, if you think about your customers, if you think about your employees, if you think about the relationships that you have with the nonprofits that you're giving to, with the other businesses that you're working with, it's all connected. And I think the giving is a way to really make those connections visible. And it seems that, in your 2 companies, Bodhi Surf and Yoga and Avocado Green Brands, you've done such a great job of really making those authentic relationships really visible in ways that have been really valuable. And I think there's, lots of great takeaways from this, and wish we could have had all of you in the virtual audience in the room, because I'm sure we could have had a great discussion and learned a lot from all of you as well. So with that, thanks so much. We can stay on for a few more minutes if any of you do have other questions, but I recognize that you may be racing to other great sessions. So thank you so much. And we will look forward to future conversations.